please your attention for group number 4, and they want to introduce themselves. So, good luck.
Okay. Welcome everybody. My name is Evie van der Logt and this is Luuk Zwartbol. We represent group 4 consisting of Wyke, Grob, Jolien, Hermans and Abeling. We are going to tell about a research paper, an overview of effective policy implementation for the sustainable transformation of existing cities. We're going through a research paper by going through the following aspects. We will start with the introduction, then tell something about the methodology which we have used to get the result. We will finish with a conclusion and the discussion of our paper to be hopefully able to answer a research question. Policy for transformation to sustainable city have gained more importance since the implementation of 1994 of the United Nations Framework on Convention Climate Change. The goal of this agreement is to temper and to reduce the vulnerability to climate change. The emergence of sustainable development of cities is also fueled by increasing urbanization. Recent research only investigates and compares the implementation of policy for sustainable transformation with a limited amount of case studies. So there is no consensus on which case study is most effective. The aim of our research is to create an overview of the effectiveness of those policies. So our research question is, what implementation of policies for the sustainable transformation of existing cities are effective? We have created 2 sub-questions. What is the influence on the different approaches? And why are some policies more effective than others? Considering the influences of policy goal, policy scale and stakeholders. To answer our research questions and sub-questions, we have looked for 50 articles. All the articles discuss policies with sustainable development and are talking about effectiveness of those policies. These are the keywords which we have looked for 50 articles. All the articles have different methods. Literature review, case study and comparative analysis are qualitative methods. Scenario and interview are mixed methods we have used in our paper. Later we will discuss the relation between the results and the methods. In the literature grids we have dependent variables, policy goal, policy type and policy scale. These contribute all the effectiveness of the policies. The independent variables are location, initiator and implementation period. These have influences on the dependent variables. The dependent variables determine the classes to be able to compare the different policies. Policy type can be top-down, based on dominated by government, and it can be bottom-up, and the government has more a supportive role to the local community. Effectiveness, to measure effectiveness, we have used 3 factors. These factors are amount of policy goal achieved, the political will and commitment, and the understanding, knowledge and experience of all stakeholders. Every policy is rated on these 3 factors with a score to 1 to 5 to rank this clear and objective.
Well, analyzing all the articles eventually led to this table, and we used this table to discover relationships between the dependent variables, policy scale and policy type, and the effectiveness of the policy's implementation, where the effectiveness is determined by the 3 factors Evie just explained. And as you may notice, we sorted this table by the methodology used in the articles, because we also wanted to find out which research method was the most effective for our own research. And as you can see in this chart, the most articles we could use for our table use case study as their research method, where case study most of the time is used in combination with other research methods like interviews. And case studies were very useful for our research because they're based on actual findings and observations, and especially in combination with interview gives in-depth information about the effectiveness of the policies. Also, comparative analysis were very useful because they already compare different policies in the article itself, which made them easier to compare with policies from other articles. Literature review and scenarios were less useful because literature reviews can only yield results on the policy's effectiveness of policies that have already been reviewed in other articles, while case studies do not have this limitation, and scenarios can only say something about possible future perspective, does nothing about the effectiveness of implemented policies. Well, coming back to the actual results from the table, we can say different things. First of all, we noticed that the political will and commitment and understanding, knowledge and experience among stakeholders have a strong influence on the achievement of the goals of the different policies. So these two are very important for a policy to be effective. When we look at the policy type in relation to the effectiveness, we can conclude that the bottom-up approach has a higher chance of being effective than a top-down approach. Where we also notice that the bottom-up approach also always has a high score on the understanding, knowledge and experience among the stakeholders, which indicates that there's a lot of commitment from these different stakeholders. The table also shows that policies on a national scale score lower on effectiveness than policies on a local scale. And for example, Tianjin, where a lack of understanding the project goals among all the involved stakeholders resulted in a low effectiveness. And in Tongjiang Bay Eco City, a lack of political will and commitment was critical. Well, to come to a conclusion, to start with our research method, case studies were the most useful research method for our own research. Also, comparative analysis were very useful because of the great comparability between the cities. And literature review and scenarios were less useful because of the reasons we named earlier. Then, to come back to our research question, which was what implemented policies for the sustainable transformation of existing cities are effective. And from our table we can conclude that the bottom-up approach implemented on a small scale has the highest chance of being effective, where also a strong political will and commitment and high understanding among stakeholders is also very important. But our overview is not complete, because in our table we could only include articles that talked about the policy's effectiveness in an objective and complete way. And further research could extend our table to see if the relations we found between the dependent variables, policy scale and policy type, and the effectiveness of the policies is still valid, and how the table is expanded with more policies. Thank you for your attention.
Clear conclusions? Other questions? Remarks? Yeah. Can I also? Yeah. Okay. First, from the audience.
I think the presentation was very fluid. Like you planned the slides well, and everything was going in order.
A compliment. I was thinking, because you said, okay, the bottom-up approach is more effective, local is also more effective, and clear conclusions. And can you give some examples? I was just curious.
I have to think. I read a lot, so.
Case of Denmark, the island.
You can say.
Yeah.
We had one case in Samso in Denmark, a small, quite big island in Denmark, where they had a contest to become a sustainable island as part of the Danish transformation policy. And they took that as an opportunity because they had low economic perspective on that island, low employment rates, and they decided as a bottom-up initiative to say, we are going to do this, and together with the government, they were really supportive with feed-in tariffs for their windmills. They were going to build windmills to become a sustainable island. And so in that way they had a bottom-up initiative, because all the citizens and the local businesses and the banks were really supportive. They all wanted to do that on a small scale. They really accomplished it really fast, and it was very successful. And now they have 100% renewable energy on that island.
That's
So that's the combination of bottom-up, local, and good political will and commitment and understanding.
I'm looking at you, Anna, because I think you have also examples from your own research.
But today it's their turn.
Yeah, okay. And
We
I
discuss more in the master.
Yeah, that's really good. And I think 2 questions per group,
okay.
it's enough. Okay, thank you.